Welcome one and welcome all once again to Never Mind the Buzzcocks. I'm Natasha Kopinski and I'm not wearing any pants. No, I fooled you. Actually, I'm Stephen, really, and this is QI, though I'm not wearing pants. Tonight, we're playing footloose and fancy-free with the facts as we filter the fabrications of fakes, frauds and fakirs. Let's meet our four finagling fraudsters. We have world heavyweight boxing champion Sean Locke. We have the President of Mauritius, Jimmy Carr. His identical twin sister, Marcus Brigstocke. And the late Hugh Montgomery Massingbird. All right, now you might like to reveal who you really are. But before I sell you all, thank you, you can bring that down. Thank you very much. Before I sell you all a pup, let's hear your suspicious noises. Sean goes... Jimmy goes... Marcus goes... And Alan goes... Which brings me on to my first sleight of hand. Can you tell me all what your buzzer noises are? Jimmy first. What's that noise?
A camera, like a light.
Oh! No, actually...
It's
Yeah?
That's a phone.
Is it not... Is it not... it's a bird that can mimic sounds, and it learned how to do the camera shutter.
So what sort of bird would that be?
A Kodak bird.
It's not that. It's from Australia?
Oh, the kookaburra.
No.
Sheila.
No. The audience knows. Say again loudly. Liar! They're all shouting liar at you.
You've robbed my point.
You get one, the audience gets 5. Jimmy's buzzer was indeed, in fact, a specific breed of lyrebird called the superb lyrebird.
It can mimic anything.
Almost anything.
I'd make it woof. How brilliant would that be if you had a bird that woofed?
It's,
I'd get it to do limericks.
It does dogs.
I'll probably get it to do Bill Oddie.
Surely that should be a bearded tit, if it was any better.
You're thinking of Rory McGrath.
Yours was a superb liar. Marcus, let's hear yours.
It could easily be a builder, couldn't it? Seeing a lady go past. But it sounds like a car alarm. Yeah.
Thank you for joining me.
I just wanted to see that happen.
That wasn't...
Yeah?
Lyrebird.
Yes! It's right! Oh. And here it is, making that noise. It's lyre, incidentally, L-Y-R-E, not...
I knew that.
Not...
Well, I've got a point if I'd said that.
No. Because its tail is said to resemble the shape of a Greek lyre, the plucking instrument, a lyre. And let's hear your buzzer, Sean, if we may.
It's a lyrebird. Well, I don't know what it's mimicking.
It's doing a saw,
It's doing logging.
Chainsaw.
It's mimicking logging.
It is indeed doing a chainsaw.
Is it a lyrebird?
It's a lyrebird. You seem to have got the hang of this. It's very annoying.
Really.
So, Alan...
The thing about...
That's a lyrebird.
No!
Even as I said it, I knew it wasn't. Even as it was coming out of my story of my bloody
That was
life.
a telephone.
Yeah?
Couldn't you tell?
No, I thought...
Ironically, Alan, the big siren that went off there was a lyrebird. I can't see that bird surviving for much longer if it's doing impressions of the chainsaw that's coming towards it. I can do chainsaws.
How does it benefit it in the wild? How does it benefit being able to mimic the noises of other things?
He does a lot of kids' parties and a lot of...
It seems to be a useful mechanism for it, and for other birds like parrots, as we know, and minor birds, and something called the drongo. The drongo imitates the alarm calls of other birds, and cleverly it knows which birds it's with, and only will do the alarm call of the kookaburra if it's with a kookaburra, say.
That's clever, but it's also an insult in Australia to be called a drongo.
Do you know why?
No, I wish I did. I've been called it several times by an Australian friend of mine.
It is actually, it's the proper name for a bird and always was, but in the 1920s there was a racehorse called Drongo who seemed to lose every single race that he was put in.
And so
in
I was
Australia,
doing hurdles
the
at
word
the time.
Drongo...
You don't get any horses called Fred, do you? Or Sam...
Gerard?
Gerard?
Brigadier Gerard, even.
There was one called Simon in the Grand National this year.
Just Simon.
Yeah, that had my 40 quid.
Simon the horse.
Not anymore. Dog food now.
There's one called Eric in a joke.
Oh, lovely joke. One of my favourites.
I love that
Would
joke.
you like to share it with us, just for the sake of it?
Yes, white horse goes into a pub. And he goes to the pub and the landlord says, "We got a drink named after you." And he says, "What, Eric?" That's
Simple
it, that is
and
it.
pure.
Told it quite well.
Yeah, I like the way you threw it away.
Yeah. The world record for any talking bird appears to be 1,728 words, which is the same vocabulary, as it happens, as an estate agent, apparently. And it was a budgerigar named Puck in 1995 who had
sold
this.
3 semis.
Yeah, who sold 3 semis.
Can he do sentences or just words?
I don't know. I don't know. I simply don't know.
Sorry, do you know this one or not?
I don't know.
You don't?
I don't have
Well,
the
do you or not?
I don't.
They're not really words, though, are they? They're not words, are they?
What aren't?
Well, when birds say words, they're not words. They're noises.
To our ears, they are. They sound like.
As you know, people want to learn to talk to the animals, don't they? People say, "I'd like to talk to the animals." It would actually be quite dull, wouldn't it? Talking to animals, what you do, just got
Eat
up,
grass.
got some food.
Grunt and squeak and squawk with
Didn't
the
get
animals.
killed. Turned out all right.
Got out of bed, shat right next to the bed, got back into bed. It's the sort of thing they do.
Yeah, disgusting.
Very right. Anyway, moving on. The first 3 were, of course, all the work of the finest fibber in the forest, the superb lyrebird, which can imitate just about any sound it hears. So now, what was unusual about the pig-faced lady?
She had 8 tits. As well. She wasn't really a lady, she was a pig.
Yeah, if that's her, that is a pig.
No. There was a very famous... In fact, there were a number of famous pig-faced ladies in the 19th century.
To be a curiosity in a tent and
Thank you. That's it. Say that
Pleasure.
again, so the ladies and
a
gentlemen at home can
curiosity in
hear.
a tent.
Exactly right. It was
My
a
favourite sort of curiosity. Tented curiosity.
tented curiosity. It was a big draw in the 19th century for people to go pay money to see the pig-faced lady.
The thing I always think about those freak shows is, rather than pay
Yeah.
to go to the tent, why don't you just wait till they finish work and they go down the shops?
You don't get all the build-up, though, do you? If they're just down the shop, you don't get someone saying, "Prepare for the wonderful..." Oh, she's just buying biscuits.
Yeah.
It's not the same
Was
thing.
it a bearded lady that they shaved?
No, but it was a shaved...
Pig.
Did they-
Pig.
No.
Monkey.
She was like a PG-6
Not a
chimp.
monkey. Monkeys would have to be huge. It'd have to be a gorilla.
Horse.
All right, a gorilla.
Cow.
Horse.
Cow.
Not a cow.
A pig.
No, a pig would be too small to be convincing as a woman.
Pigs are massive.
Donkey. A donkey.
You're thinking about
They're not
little
going to
pigs in
stand up on
cartoons.
2 legs, though, and,
Wait, sorry, is this...
and look like a human.
You put a dress on most things, they can pull it off. I look like one. I put a dress on.
I think
You
I've heard
stand
of this.
upright. Yeah.
Is it a bear?
Yes, thank you. It's a bear.
They shaved...
They would get a
A
bear,
bear?
drunk, shave the bear's
Get a
face.
bear drunk
Yes.
and shave it.
Yeah.
They've got this show backwards. That's what you want to see. They're talking about a pig-faced woman. I want to see a man trying to shave a bear.
Drunken bear.
Have another drink. I'm not going to do anything to you. That's insane.
And then they stick his arm in a beehive.
When they got them drunk, was this, like, paralytic, so it would then pass out and they'd shave it, or drunk enough to persuade it that this... that this
One
would
or
work?
other. Drunk enough for it not to wipe your face off with its with the
its
one
claw.
swipe of its
Right.
claw.
Yeah.
Hot towel, sir.
Oh, go on, then. Go on, then. Where am I going? Go for your life. Go on. Here's a quite interesting thing.
Yeah.
Water softens beard bristle up better than shaving foam. That's it. Yeah. Shaving foam is a con. combination.
I think there's a current advert on for some skin preparation for men that goes on about how your skin can get stronger.
Obviously, they don't want to market moisturise the men, so they call it face protector.
Yes.
Like it's stopping bullets hitting. I put this on. It's not to do with making me all soft and lovely. It's actually bang, I'm biting off. People are throwing kettles at me. I don't even feel it.
They have, of course, bearded ladies you've mentioned. There's been a long tradition of those. There was one rather sweet story of a bearded lady who fell in love with a contortionist. And
This sounds like an old joke.
I know, it really does sound like a joke. But
What
it
do
wasn't
you
a joke. He wouldn't marry her because he couldn't really face the idea every morning of staring at a bearded woman. But also, if she shaved, they couldn't get married because they wouldn't have enough income, because her income came from the fact that she was a very successful bearded lady. And,
So he shaved a bear and married that?
No. Someone else suggested that she shave and cover herself in tattoos, and she became the first tattooed lady.
Right.
And they married and lived very happily ever after.
But if he was a contortionist, they could have had sex and he could have been in a different room.
That's indeed the nature of exactly that. Samuel Gumpertz was considered the king of the freak show people at Coney Island. He had a 1911 show that included Ursa, the bear girl, Bonita...
Is that just a naked lady?
No.
The bear girl is misleading, I think.
B-E-A-R.
Actually, a lot of people paid their money and went, oh, this is rubbish. She just looks like a bear. If anything, I'm turned off.
There was Bonita... I don't know why this is funny. The Irish fat midget.
You don't know why that's funny?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Lionel the dog-faced boy, and Shreef Affendel the human salamander.
Salamanders can go in fire, can't they?
Yes, that's the
he would
sort of
stand into
legend.
fire.
Presumably that's what happened.
How long can a salamander go in fire?
Till it's cooked.
Well, there you have it. Anyway, the pig-faced lady was neither pig-faced nor a lady. She was, in fact, a drunken bear with a shaven head. Now, what was Count Victor Lustig's dastardly scheme for Guy de Maupassant's favourite restaurant in Paris?
Did he put a creepy black and white cardboard cutout of himself in the middle of the place?
Guy de Maupassant, 19th century French writer. Like many French writers, a surprising number of French writers and artists in the 19th century objected to something new that hit Paris in 1889, the Eiffel Tower. They absolutely loathed it.
Hated it.
Guy de Maupassant loathed it so much that his favourite restaurant was...
The Eiffel Tower is crap bistro.
No, was in the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, so they didn't have to look at it.
So exactly.
The
The
Jules
one
Verne
place in
restaurant.
Paris where he couldn't see the Eiffel Tower was inside the Eiffel Tower.
Could he not just ask for perhaps a chair facing the other way?
But he was a French writer trying to make a point, and therefore a git. Well, that's only half the story. What did Count Victor Lustig do to the Eiffel Tower?
He sold it to someone.
Oh, Alan, you're on fire
I'm
tonight.
on fire. I'm a salamander.
You are on fire. You are a salamander. He did indeed sell it. Congratulations. Many points.
I'm on fire.
It's quite a good salamander.
Do they do that foot thing?
They probably do.
Cooling foot. Cooling foot.
Salamander is amongst us.
So he sold the Eiffel Tower?
Well,
to a
he's-
gullible tourist or something.
Well, actually, in this case, it was scrap metal dealers. He claimed that he had the single right given to him by the Ministry of Posts and Telegraphy to the sale, and that he could personally decide who would get the scrap metal rights. And he told this to two scrap metal dealers. And they both realised that as he was a French official, he could be bribed. And so they paid him a large bribe for the rights to it. He told them that it was going to be pulled down and that he had the rights to dispose of the
It was
scrap
never a
metal.
permanent thing, was it? They put it up
It
for
wasn't,
like
exactly.
a couple of years.
So it was quite a convincing
It's like
con.
that big wheel on the South Bank. That was meant to be up for 2 years, and they went, do you know what? I like it. Let's keep it. They were fairground people, the New Labour, when they came in. They went, what we need is a Millennium Dome and a big Ferris wheel. Come on, if you want to go faster, you've got to scream louder.
And there's loads of pregnant teenagers knocking on number 10. Going, where are you? You've moved on.
There was a great former actor from Glasgow called Arthur Ferguson. He sold Nelson's column, Lions included, to an American tourist for £6,000. And on a trip to Paris, he managed to sell the Eiffel Tower as well, also for scrap, to another gullible
I
American.
love these people.
He then moved to the US.
Do you think they try lots and lots of people and eventually someone buys?
He sold the White House to an American.
Brilliant.
He sold
Sell me!
He then tried to sell the Statue of Liberty to an Australian, and that's where it fell down. But he went...
You'd be suspicious.
Come on, mate.
He didn't even have the keys.
How am I going to get it home? Where's the guarantee?
But in case we think this is something that's gone away, only this year, 2008, ladies and gentlemen, as we go, two businessmen called Terry Collins and Marcel Buchhorn were conned out of £1 million by an unemployed, bankrupt lorry driver named Tony Lee, who claimed to be acting for the real owners in the sale of the Ritz Hotel. And they paid £1 million for a sort of down payment on the Ritz.
£1 million.
Now, what kind of animal might be interested in buying some snake oil? I have some here. Yes.
Pig-faced lady.
Good point.
Is it made from snakes?
Yeah.
The oil of a snake.
Oil from a snake.
I imagine you just ring them out, they're quite long. Yeah. Or you get someone at the other end, like you do with a towel. Just keep turning it.
Plenty, exactly. Like a... Is that a Vileda mop you were doing there?
What use
It's
would
not
it
venom,
be
then?
to an
Is it
animal?
taken from the venom or
No,
from
not from the venom, no. It's an oil from the snake. But there's a particular animal that is shown to benefit from it. Maybe we would too.
Oh, is
Particular snake.
it a snake with bad joints?
No, Jimmy,
Not a snake?
No. What do we mean by snake oil when we use the phrase these days?
It means it's something that's not what it says it is. It's a con, it's a fraud.
Yeah, it's sort of patent
Snake
medicine.
oil salesman.
In the 19th century, when the Chinese arrived in America in large numbers, they used it as a kind of potion, a health thing amongst themselves. And the snake oil salesmen, as it were, had their own nostrums, their own tonics, and they dismissed snake oil as precisely what they said. You know, don't listen to people who try and sell you snake oil, this is the real stuff. But in fact, the irony is snake oil has been shown to be rather good, particularly Chinese snake oil, because it's full of omega-3. And on mice, it's shown that it's improved their ability to negotiate mazes and strengthened their muscles and increased... They can swim
real life,
better.
of course, they're probably not in mazes.
No, in real life.
They put them in mazes and say, look, they're better at getting out of mazes. And they're just going, go out of the maze and stop giving me the stuff to drink.
The idea of saying to mice in nature, yeah, what you want is eat more snakes. The mouse is going, yeah, the thing is...
Yeah.
They can be a bit aggressive.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'll get this one from the inside.
The most famous woman's face, some believe, in the 19th century was a woman called Lydia Pinkham, who was responsible for a very famous patent medicine called her compound.
No, is that where Lily the Pink comes
it's
from?
where Lily the Pink comes from, the 60s song by The Scaffold. And it's her vegetable compound. It was a huge success, and her face was on it. And, of course, most of these things had alcohol in, which by the early 20th century meant they were very popular in Prohibition. It turns out, ironically, that snake oil, empirically, has been discovered to be good. At least for mice, it comes from the Chinese water snake, and it's a source of omega-3, highly healthy acid. Now, let's move on. Describe the scandal of Mrs. Pankhurst and the rhubarb jam.
Pankhurst, she was a now suffragettes and jam.
We don't say suffragettes anymore, we say favours the flatter shoe.
Did she make her own jam? Pankhurst's own rhubarb jam?
Well, no, but actually in the 19th century and the early part of the 20th century, there was an enormous industry involved around making fake jams, would you believe?
Fake jam?
Fake jam. There was a particular kind of jam that was very popular but rather expensive for ordinary people, and so fake versions of it were produced, and it was a particular fruit jam.
Strawberry. Raspberry.
Raspberry is the answer. Raspberry was very popular, very, very popular, but rather expensive. So instead people used rhubarb was your best shot. The worst shot
Did they put
was
the pips in it?
sweetened turnips. And, as Marcus said under his breath there,
Yes,
I caught it, yes, they did put wooden pips in, not real pips, but fake pips.
Lovely wood.
In order to make it look more like... And, this is why it gets so weird, so prevalent was this habit of making false raspberry jam out of sweetened turnips and rhubarb and adding the wood bits, that there was a trade of making little wooden pips. And it was sweated labour that Mrs. Sylvia Pankhurst, one of the leading women's movement people who, fought for votes for women and rights for women and so on, that she made an enormous fuss about this and indeed opened her own jam factory during the First World War, selling real jam instead of this.
It does sound like a euphemism for something else. Yeah, she's opened her jam factory.
You're a very disgusting young man.
I just think it sounds...
Young, quite wrongly.
I like the idea that you could have a job as a pip maker.
Yeah, I know, that's exactly what a pip maker.
5 years apprenticeship. Making pips. Start out with great big pips like that, where it's smaller and smaller.
And being very badly paid at it. Anyway, that was paid.
Presumably they got away with it if it lasted that long, so it must have been raspberry-ish.
I guess. It was sugary, it was sweet and it was red. What do they call jam in America?
Jello.
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 No, they don't.
Jelly.
Jelly.
I want some jam.
Jelly.
Put some jam on my pancakes.
Jelly. They call it jelly.
I'm still saying jam.
Yes, you are. You're still saying jam in your way.
I think it's funny when I say jam.
They mix it with peanut butter as well.
Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Got an interesting fact about peanut butter.
Tell me.
You know when they make those commercials using chimps?
Like for tea and things.
For tea and stuff. So what they do is they get a little bit of peanut butter and they put it on the top
of
the
yes,
roof of their mouth for the monkeys, and a little bit they go, and that is also how they make Hollyoaks.
Very good. Very good indeed.
So it's done.
So, there we have it. The pips in fake raspberry jam, often made from rhubarb, with little bits of wood processed by sweatshop female labour. Now, you are the detective for these questions coming up. We all think we can spot a con, but tell me how you would have dealt with these situations. You become suspicious of 3 buxom young women who are coming out of the telephone exchange carrying heavy suitcases and jangling. Where is the jangling coming from? Is it coming from A, the telephone exchange, B, the suitcases, or C, their bosoms?
D, my trousers.
Right. And we're in Miami in 1950. This was a very well-known scandal at the time. These women were responsible for the money that got collected from the phone boxes. And their job was to put the money into these counting machines. And they worked out that as long as they stole the money before it went into the counting machines, the phone company had no idea of how much money there was. So they would take money and put it into their breasts and then put it in the counting machine. Once it's in the counting machine, it's accounted for. But over a number of years, no one quite knows how much they got away with, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars in their breasts. And eventually they got found out. There we have a picture.
It looks like she's gone to a really bad strip club. People have only got change. There you go, love. That'll do you. Might be cold, sorry about that.
What? No.
The headline on the day that this happened was "Justice as elastic as the items in which they carried their loot snapped back today on members of Miami's Brazier Brigade." That's what...
a headline?
That was a headline.
Whereas now, if it's the Sun, you go, money in their tits.
Yes. I'm afraid it would be exactly
Titty
that.
cash.
Tit bag grab snag.
And then there'd be a girl on page 3 and it would say, Zoe is very disappointed by the brazier. She thinks it's wrong to steal.
You seem to know their ways very well.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
She's delighted that Saddam Hussein has been found in a hole. That was one of that's my favourite one.
I don't think she knew what that meant.
Stephanie is delighted that Saddam Hussein has been captured.
It'd be good to get, like, in future centuries.
When I found out he'd been captured, a little moment to celebrate.
I'm ashamed of you.
It's not real, it's your imagination. I'm just doing that.
That will not answer.
However, I wish I could do that.
I can, oddly enough. But unfortunately,
celebrate with
my nipples are going in the wrong direction. They're dropping an inch a year. It's totally up. However, I have...
Can you get a pencil underneath them?
I can get Colin Montgomery under.
Oh, he must have been livid about that.
In 1950, the Brazier Brigade defrauded the Southern Bell Telephone Company line by hiding the takings in their bras. This is your next question. You're in the bath when the King of Syracuse calls. He's got a dodgy tiara for you. What do you say?
Always when you're in the bath.
Yeah.
Well, my first... Is it a trick question? Because if I'm in the bath, I've already got a tiara on.
Indeed, this diadem, this coronet that the King of Syracuse wants you to have a look at.
Sorry, and he's called me, and I've got reception back to the 13th century.
No, it's a lot earlier than that.
How early is it?
Oh, it's way back.
Way back. OK. I don't want to get too specific. That was enough information.
About 200 BC, that kind of thing.
200 BC, and he's called me in the bath. He's gone, do you want to buy a tiara?
No, he's got a dodgy gold crown or tiara.
Right.
And he needs something from you. He needs information from you about this crown.
See whether it's
About
all right,
whether
if
it's
a
the real
decent
crown.
See
or
whether
not.
it's gold or not, yeah.
So were you saying, how would I prove it's gold?
Yeah.
Something to do with the bath?
Yeah.
I put it in the bath?
Yeah.
Well, does gold go small and wrinkly in the bath?
That's your crown jewels.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's something to do with the density of it and
The density of gold is
displacement
unique
of
to
the
itself,
water?
so that if you had two crowns that weighed the same, you couldn't tell whether one was gold or not just by their weight, even if they were the same size. But they would displace different amounts of water when placed in the water. And so this particular man, Archimedes, pondering this problem that he'd been given by the king, gets in the bath, sees the water rise, and leaps out of the bath shouting...
Eureka!
Exactly. That's...
I really thought you were going to say Arsenal then, Alan.
Yes, Eureka. Archimedes' famous bath time moment came from trying to think of a way to check how gold a gold crown really was. Now, let's see how well you know yourself. I'm going to describe one of you, and I want you to buzz in when you think you know which one it is that I'm talking about. You tend to be...
Well, that's me.
You tend to be too critical of yourself. You have considerable unused capacity that you have not yet turned to your advantage. At times, you have serious doubts about whether you've made the right decision or done the right thing. Some of your goals are rather unrealistic. You have a need for other people to like and admire you.
Keep looking at me.
We're all comedians. Everything you've said is exactly all of us.
Exactly,
so
and not
far.
just comedians, but of course everybody else. It's an example of what...
No, we are special.
Well, you are obviously particularly special.
Yes.
It's an example of what's known as Barnum statements, or cold reading, as used by fraudulent psychics, clairvoyants, and so on.
Real ones don't need it. They contact the dead.
Yes.
You really look like you've been arrested at a foreign airport for drug dealing there.
Trying desperately to look innocent. Someone just put them in my bag.
Yes, yeah.
And this bear, I didn't shave that. That is my wife.
There are classic types of Barnum statement, like rainbow statements, which describe so many people, they cover all the bases. You have a very generous and giving nature, although if you're honest about it, there have been times when you've acted in a rather selfish way. There's the vanishing negative, where they say, you don't work with children, do you? So that whatever the person says...
I don't know what you've heard.
If they say...
Not anymore.
If they say yes, you say yes, I thought so. And if they say no, so I didn't
No,
think
I
so.
thought not.
But people fall for it all the time.
How do you do that?
Yeah, exactly.
What if you said, have you ever laid an egg?
Just the once.
Yeah, they go, no. You go, oh, I've got that wrong.
That'd be a much better act.
It's really out on a limb.
And then there are escape hatches. Does the name Wendy mean anything to you?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I thought so, exactly.
I've got a cousin called Wendy.
No, you see, I thought so. I thought so.
Imagine if
and
I
of
had
course,
so. What
if you
would
say
happen
no...
then? Say it to Alan.
If you say... Have you got a Wendy in your life?
No.
You will have very soon. There is... I'm getting a Wendy. There will be a Wendy.
People have just tuned in from Living TV going, no, it's the same show.
Exactly. It is...
This is on again, it's brilliant.
They're actually called Fora questions as well. There was a man called Fora who died in 2000 who was a sort of psychologist and so on. He got his students to mark out of 5 various statements that he gave for each one of them, and they were, of course, all identical.
I'm going on the road with this. This sounds fantastic. Because they do tour round. I've been doing a tour, and they're all these people sell out the same venues. They're all in huge venues going, yeah, I'll tell you, oh, your mother says she's happy now. They never go, she went to hell. Yeah, she went to hell. Turns out, wrong and your mum.
She loves it.
She's actually married the devil. They never say that.
No, they tend not to.
Yeah, but I will.
Fora effect, or personal validation fallacy, is a technique used by astrologers and fortune tellers and other liars to create apparently specific, but in fact almost universal statements. Some things are obvious trickery, though. What's the trick behind sword swallowing?
Wipe it first.
Yep.
Stop when you reach the handle.
Never use a scimitar.
Doesn't it just fold up?
No, no. There are people who believe... There are people who insist on believing that it is a sort of fake somehow, but it is genuine. People do...
I wonder if it comes out, it's got a bit of meat on the end. Yeah.
I think that the actual secret of doing it is to do it really quick, and if it gets caught on anything, just jab it.
Oh. What do you think the most common complaint is when they go and see doctors?
I imagine it's gastric.
It's a sore throat. Is it? Pretty obviously, but they genuinely do suffer from sore throats. And they pop it down, and there's a limit, 61 centimetres. Any longer than 61 centimetres, you could gravely injure yourself. But anything less than 40 centimetres, and you are not recognised as a sword swallower by the Association of Sword Swallowers.
What if you're short? I mean, surely height...
You'd think, but unfortunately, the Society of Sword Swallowers has laid down 40
Yeah, because if you're a midget, you've got to stab yourself through the arse.
Nice.
Try and swallow a short rock.
I mean, how do you not just gag immediately?
That's the point. If there's a trick to it, not a trick to it, but the secret of it is you have to learn how to overcome your gag reflexes, the first thing.
That's a very horrible, hard thing to do. I have that with that's why I got my contact lenses, because I actually gag when I touch my eye.
You're putting them in wrong.
Do you?
I can't see a fucking thing. Put them in the front.
You know, if you pull a Pekingese tail, its eyes pop out. You know that? That's a fact.
Oh, that's the rest of my week sorted. I'm buying a Pekingese.
Oh, I line them up. It's like that. I touch my eye and I actually go...
Really? It's a 4,000-year-old art. It seems, sword swallowing them. It's not a trick at all. It's a real skill. That's the point. Now, tell me what about the vegetable lamb of Tartary? Anybody?
Is it the bastard child of a lamb and a turnip?
Not a turnip.
Wandered lonely until came across a pig-faced lady.
There were many people.
Well, sheep didn't have a go on a cauliflower when it was pissed or something, did it?
Is it a kebab?
Not a kebab, no. But if you ever like this, might be made of wool, a suit, but the shirt would be made of
Lamb.
Cotton. Bless you, Sean, for trying. Cotton. And there were a lot of people who thought the idea, and indeed if you've ever stood in a cotton field, you can understand it, thought the idea of a plant that exploded with that kind of fabric was just ridiculous, and that it must really be a sheep plant. And so was born the legend, which was much... There you see drawings of it. And that was believed by some people to exist. But then when you consider in the 16th century, as people were discovering new animals, some of them astounding, and new plants, that is by no means as odd as some of the things that nature does throw up.
I think that's sort of the equivalent of creationism, isn't it? People going, yeah, that's probably how it happened.
Yeah, exactly. One moves to the other.
Might have wandered on top of that plant and then it grew really far.
It's a very surprised.
What's Tartary?
Tartary is the sort of Far East where the Tartars come from. It's a Mongolia area, really.
Is that where cotton comes from?
No,
where
I
tartar
don't
sauce
think
comes from
it's
in
where it
Norway.
comes from. It might be.
I thought a Tartary was a brothel.
Very good, a Tartary. But the vegetable lamb of Tartary came from nowhere. It was believed to be a cross between a sheep and a plant, and was used to explain where cotton came from. And so we reach the toast of con men, fraudsters and swindlers everywhere, general ignorance. What's New London Bridge doing in Arizona? Yay.
It was bought as a tourist attraction. And it's the third most popular tourist attraction in America.
And it acts as a dry way of getting across some water.
That sounds pretty good to me.
Nothing's gone off.
No. Sometimes the obvious answer is the truth.
Is it true that they thought they were buying Tower Bridge?
No!
That was the wrong one.
It was a man called McCulloch of McCulloch's Oil who bought it, and he bought it after much negotiation, and indeed there are photographs of him looking round it and working out how to transport it, so he knew perfectly well what bridge he was buying. It was called New London Bridge because the old London Bridge had been crossing the Thames at that point for how long?
Million years.
300 years or something?
Since the time of the dinosaurs, they built it.
600 years.
It was big enough for a blue whale to go under.
It held good for 600 years and was covered in shops and buildings. It was much quicker to get a ferry across than to try and walk across the bridge. It was so filled with entertainment and shops and all.
I want a bridge like that again.
Pubs. I know, isn't it wonderful? I wish it was still like that. Anyway, Robert McCulloch, his name was, he took New London Bridge to Arizona to promote his new settlement at Lake Havasu, where it's been a huge success. Contrary to the myth, he never thought he was buying Tower Bridge. A lot of what we eat seems to be faked these days. If I send you down to the shops for some butter and they don't have any, what could you get me instead?
Some beer. Get some beer.
Yes, you could, but instead of
Margarine.
butter...
People get margarine.
Yeah. You can't palm me off with margarine, I was about to say, but that sounds rather weird. You can... No, you can't. You literally cannot buy margarine in England anymore.
Can you get it on the internet?
Possibly, but not from Britain.
There's dodgy
there may
margarine
be.
sites.
Yeah. The UK Spreads Association. They used to be called the Margarine and Spreads Association. We would like to make it clear, their spokesman told a startled QI researcher, we would like to make it clear that there are no brands of margarine on sale in Britain today.
Is it because margarine contains...
Change the name.
Because it contains 80 to 90% fat. Its natural colour, margarine, is
Blue.
white, in fact. And in America, the dairy industry was so horrified by it in the 19th century when it was invented that they had various laws insisting that it not be coloured yellow to look like butter. So it stayed white, or indeed in some extreme states where the dairy industry was very powerful, like New Hampshire, they insisted that it be coloured red. So it really put people off spreading it on their toast. Now, how many commandments are there?
Oh,
Yes.
are we talking about the commandments that God dictated to Moses on Mount Sinai?
Yeah.
Literally none, never happened.
I'll go along with that. How many are there in the Bible?
Oh, yeah, well, now you see I've buzzed, but I fear if I said 10... that might happen. I think the Catholic Church have just added some new ones.
No, I'm talking about the original...
The original ones?
9. 8.
No. There used to be that story where the angel is sent down and he goes to the French and says to them, I've got some commandments. And the French say, well, give me an example. He said, well, thou shalt not commit adultery. He said, I'm not interested, go away. And he goes off then to the Germans and says, look, I've got these commandments I'm trying to shift. And the Germans say, what do they say? He said, well, for example, thou shalt not kill. I don't think so. And he goes to the Italians and says, look, would you like some of these commandments? He says, what do they say? He says, well, here's one saying, thou shalt not steal. Go away. Then he goes to the Jews and says, like, we've got these commandments. How much are they? They're free. I'll take 10.
It's quite interesting. If you look at the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not kill, which should be the major one, really. It should be at the top. Comes in about number 5. It's got quite low billing. And it should be in bold, shouldn't it?
Do you think that's the important?
The other stuff is just like nicking, staring at other people's wives,
Well,
boyfriends.
in the list of those commandments that were taken down from the mountain, there were actually 14 in both Exodus and Deuteronomy, not 10. But in Exodus, generally speaking, there are 613 commandments, including the really important ones that should be, as you say, put in bold, like, you shall not suffer a witch to live, or you shall never vex a stranger.
Well, this show should be taken off.
Yeah. Whomsoever lies with a beast shall be surely put to death.
Well, especially when it rolls over.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
In the night.
Did it say anything about...
Listen, I didn't know she was a bear.
I thought she was a pig. No, that doesn't do.
Why do we think there's 10 then?
It's referred to as 10 in other books.
But no, there's a list of 10. I mean, there is a list of 10.
Yeah, but the list, you go to Exodus 20, Deuteronomy 5, it's not 10. They're actually divided. Some of them are divided.
Doesn't mention anything about smoking, does it?
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Where can you
Just
smoke
say,
now?
Be good. If you can't be good, be lucky.
Nice.
Always wash
we
your
need to
brushes
know.
and put your ladders away.
So anyway, in the book of Exodus, chapter 20, there are 14 commandments. If you include the rest of the book, we get up to 613. When I flip this coin that I have handily perched here, what are the chances of it coming up heads?
50-50.
You just keep walking into that lamppost, Alan.
I'm with Alan. Everything's 50-50, isn't it?
Everything.
Winning the lottery's 50-50. You either win it or you don't. Rolling a 6. You either roll a 6 or you don't. 50-50.
Yeah. Naturally tossed coins obey the laws of mechanics, and their flight is determined by their initial conditions. And it's been discovered that if a human is flipping them as opposed to a machine, and you do it thousands and thousands of times, rather than exactly 50-50, it will actually be 51% the one that's upwards, in this case heads.
I bet that if you did it 100 times, it would never come down 51-49.
Never. No. You saying that? I think most people would say 100 isn't enough for 50-50 to establish itself. It could easily be 50 heads in a row.
This is true. But what are the chances?
But you are...
The chances.
But it's like, I still can't get my head around the notion that it's just as likely to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the lottery.
Yes.
And I still go, it just wouldn't happen. But you know why? You know why, Sarah? Because it's a lottery.
Yeah.
I mean, the clue's in the title.
It is, really. And after all that, I hope you'll believe me when I tell you that that's all we have time for. Our 100% guaranteed, authentic winner this evening. Wow, this is so close. It's very exciting. With minus 16 points, it's Sean Locke.
Thank you.
This is the night of first. Still as sound as a pound with minus 18 is Jimmy Carr. But in third place, far from last with minus 21, Alan Davis. Wow. You probably think you know who is coming last. I will tell you, in fourth place with minus 26, it's Marcus Brigstocke. So it's goodbye from Jimmy, Marcus, Sean, Alan and myself. We hope that this show has been a warning to you all against choosing the paths of fraud and fakery. As Groucho Marx said, the secret of life is honesty and fair dealing. And if you can fake that, you've got it made. Good night.